So the first fact, the coffee break is over. Wow. Tell me, can you feel it? After nearly 1 day of forum, can you feel the spirit of innovation, of growth? To be honest, this is one of the reasons why I'm such a big fan of Lithuania. Everything what you are doing is professional. Thank you. This is, for me, a really transforming day. And for the next 20 minutes, together with you, I would like a part of this transforming environment and want to speak about how to transform intermodality as an asset owner. But please help me and raise your hand who is really aware about the word intermodality. Okay. Thank God, because otherwise the structure of my presentation would not make any sense. Because what is intermodality? What is intermodal transport? Yes, it has something to do with rail. But this is not completely right due to the equipment, because intermodal transport is more this. Putting a transport unit, instead of operating it purely on road, but on the rail for a part of the distance, is intermodal transport. Like, as you see here, putting a craneable trailer on a pocket wagon on rail. Please remember the word craneable trailer, because you will need it later in the presentation. And the last slide of my short explanation of intermodal transport is this. First is the pure road transport. You have a factory, you have an end customer or destination, and you drive on road. Secondly is the mode of intermodal if you are operating, for instance, a container from a factory, first part of the stretch on road, put it on the rail for the main distance and go to the port. This is maritime intermodal transport. And last but not least, and to be honest, I think that nowhere in Europe the logistic companies are doing this so professional like here in Lithuania, is the continental intermodal traffic. That means you have the first part of the distance on road, you go to the next intermodal terminal, put the unit onto rail, and then you have the main distance by rail. And then, to keep the flexibility of the road, for the last stretch, you go from the terminal by road to the end customer. In the end, you combine two advantages of the different modes. On the one hand side, you combine the flexibility of the road traffic with the capacity advantage of rail. But why the hell I'm talking about intermodal and why it's so important? I think in the end, pictures are telling you more than 1,000 words. Enjoy it. Oh. Can you please help me and start the video? This was my biggest fear, by the way, that this video doesn't start. Sorry? This is a really bad situation. Can you give me a sign why this doesn't start? And why is there no video?
No video in the presentation.
But there was a video in the presentation. Okay. This video, what I wanted to share with you, is really cool. And the content was that a little girl is in a classroom and they had to prepare a project what they want to do in their future. And this little girl says, okay, I want to really change something. So she talked about the rail traffic. And she explained their classmates the advantage of putting something on rail intermodally instead of making it on road, and how much CO2 you can save by doing this. And this is really emotional, so I wanted to include it, but nevertheless, we go on. In the reality, when we talk about what are our objectives and what is the reality, unfortunately, we have a big gap. I think we all know what we want to achieve. We want to be climate neutral. Until 2030, we want to reduce our emission by 55%. This is really a big deal. And one of the parts of the puzzle is that we must count on environmental friendly ways of transporting goods. Rail is here the main point. And we set ourselves also here very big targets to double the number of transports in Europe, but the reality looks very different. For instance, in Germany, we set ourselves the goal to increase the share of the rail transport on 25%. The reality is we are now at 19.3%. And the development is not positive. And why? Because you all know the economic situation isn't the best. The volumes are going back. This is a real problem for such a fixed cost-based transport mode like the rail. On the other hand side, to be honest, we as a rail branch, we have a real bad image. When you're traveling privately on the rail or if you're transporting your goods, you have always the complaints about construction sites, delays, proactive information, and so on and so forth. Long story short, in the industry has, a lot of the industry, neither the experience nor the confidence of using the railway traffic. But this is enough about complaining, let's talk about solutions. Before I come to the solutions I want to present to you is that I want to just briefly introduce our company. We are VTG. We are Europe's leading company for equipment on rail, railway wagons in all different types and modes. On the other hand side, historically, we are a very strong logistic company, rail logistic company in different industry sectors like liquids or bulk. And when we are asking our customers, what is the difference between us and the rest of the market is that we are thinking like you, innovative, digital. So we try to provide the service for the customers in a similarity than on the road, like offering you tracking for your units or offering you online platforms where you can have your inventory and so on and so forth. That you get a feeling about our size. We have approximately 2,000 employees making 1.3 billion of revenue, and we have 85,000 wagons which are leased in complete Europe. This shouldn't be a sales presentation for VTG. That's why I come to the content, and I want to present you today 3 enablers, 3 solutions, what we want to develop together with our partners, with our customers. At first, I have for you a technical innovation. Secondly, a knowledge, and thirdly, a commercial innovation. Do you know that it depends on the statistics, 90% of the trailers on road are non-craneable? You remember the first picture with where the crane put the trailer on the rail? That means 90% of the trailers are simply not able to go on rail. We need a solution for that. We found a solution for that. Together with our partners of Vega and Caseborer, we invented a basket Very simple, no rocket science. It's just a metal basket which you can put into the wagon or on the ground of the terminal. That means instead of moving the transport unit directly by a crane, you can put this transport unit by a tractor into the basket and then move it on the wagon. Very simple, no rocket science, and especially for our partners here in Lithuania, we know that a lot of trailers here are non-craneable. Is it a solution which is really needed to go on rail? I think it's really cool. So instead of complaining that we are not having enough volumes for making rail, we should think about how we enable rail for all types of units and not just for the small number of craneable trailers. Secondly, the knowledge, the knowledge innovation. I call it intermodal advisory. What we made is, VTG is really big. We have entities in 21 countries in whole Europe. So we created a task force which analyzed hundreds of different potential intermodal lanes in Europe if they are competitive against the pure road traffic. What I mean it's not just saying always the rail is too expensive or the rail is too slow, or we just must concentrate on the right lanes, then it's suitable. And we have the possibility as VTG, with this size, that we understand on the one hand the cargo flows, and on the other hand, we have the business connection with our stakeholders which are relevant for these traffics, the terminals, the traction companies, the operators. So we created concepts for potential intermodal traffics, and then we presented finished projects to intermodal operators, and they can create a business model and implement the traffic. We have a good example here. I'm today here with the company Martin Tolksdorf Logistics. It's a German railway operator. And we started thinking about that a lane between France and Eastern Germany is, from our commercial and operational perspectives, really suitable. So we worked on that, we identified volumes, and in Q1 next year, the traffic will start. And I think this is not just complaining, this is finding solutions and concentrating on the right things. Commercially, the problem is that a high number of intermodal traffics are closed within the first period of time. And the reason is very simple. You have a big gap between the rising of the costs, because for an intermodal traffic you have the costs from the first day, and the ramp up of the volumes, of the transport volumes. So the main problem is that you're starting with 100% costs, but just with a little number of revenue. And when you think about that the traffic between France and Germany in round trip is 80,000 euro and this train is not full, you can imagine how long it takes until your boss says, okay, please stop the traffic, it's too expensive. What we must do is not complaining about the costs, but to making the costs flexible. What we did is we invented the pay-per-load system. The wagons are approximately 15% of the total costs. So we said, you are just paying the wagon in the first period of the transport when it's loaded. If there is no cargo on the wagon, you do not pay it. That gives the operator the chance to reduce the cost in the ramp-up and to have the costs when the revenue is there. And what we are hoping is to be a role model, because we are just 15%. We hope to be a role model for the locomotive providers, for the infrastructure providers, to make the costs more flexible. In the end, I could talk about these topics for a long, long time, but also due to the fact that my videos are not working, I'm shortly before the end. Would appreciate to go deeper into the details with you. We are here with our booth and a very, very cool team. Let's discuss, because forums like this is exactly what we need. We must bring the demand and the supply together to not just complain, but to really develop something. Can we do this? I hope the video works. The video was a quote from Steve Jobs, which is my favorite. The people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do. Thank you.